Maybe you heard life in Italy is cheaper, but is it really true? In this video we will look at real numbers to understand if Italy is really cheaper than other countries. I'm Jacopo, and on this channel I explain Italian real estate in plain English. To make the comparison between Italy and other Western countries, all the prices that you will see in this video will be in US dollars. So let's start with the first area we will analyze, the housing. Housing is usually the biggest expense on a monthly budget for somebody that lives in every place. And as you will see, it's here that the big differences will show up. In Italy, rent is usually significantly lower than the renting in other countries. For example, in Italy, you can rent a single or double room apartment with 700 or 900 euros per month, which is between $800 and $1,000 per month. Instead, if we are speaking about big cities like Rome or Milan, you will have to pay a little more, between 1,200 and 1,500 euros per month. If we take in consideration what you will spend in the United States for the same apartment, you are between 2,000 and 2,500 or 3,000 euros per month. And if we are speaking about New York or San Francisco, way more. In London, at least you will have to pay between 2,400 and 3,000 US dollars. If we speak about Canada, it seems that the renting is a bit lower, similar to Italy. But as you know, housing has also another face, because you can also purchase a property instead of renting. If we take a closer look to price per square meters in these countries, we will discover that Italy has much lower prices than the other three. For example, in Milano city center, you will pay a square meter something between 5,000 and 9,000. In Rome, the average is between 4,000 and 7,000. And in southern city, like Palermo, for example, you can easily find apartments for 1,000 euros per square meters or less. If we compare this with other cities in UK, US or Canada, they are much more expensive. For example, in New York City, the average is between 13,000 and 15,000, while in Toronto or Vancouver, the prices are between $8,000 and $9,000 per square meter. So it's actually true that on average, the Italian real estate market is cheaper than other Western countries. And this is why a lot of investors, even foreign investors, are considering and are investing in the Italian real estate market. But this fact has a problem. Recently, in Italy has grown the phenomenon of gentrification, which means that the wealthier individual and the investors buy all the property in the city center, in the historical center. The prices go up, and the citizen, especially the middle class, cannot afford anymore to buy a property in the city center or to live in the city center because it's too expensive. Anyway, my mission and the mission of my company, Valente Italian Properties, is to help foreign buyers buy, invest and manage property in Italy, not only in the big cities but also in the countryside or the seaside. So if you need my help, feel free to reach out. You find all the information in the description below this video. The third area that we will discuss is utilities. In Italy, the average is something between 200 euros and 300 euros per month for utilities, but this for sure really depends on the type of property, on your consume of energy. It's just an average. While in other countries, it's really something similar, between 200 and 300. Maybe in Italy you can say something because the climate is quite good. It's warmer than northern countries. But you also need to consider that Italian properties are usually pretty old, and this means that they have a really low energetic performance. In Italy, we measure the energetic performance with the energetic performance classes. To give you an idea, half of the properties that you find in Italy are in class G or F, so the worst classes, and only 14% it's in class A. On top of that, we need to consider also the energetic production of Italy, which is really low. Italy used to buy from other countries energy, for example gas, and this is not really good when you have some problem in other countries. But now let's switch more on the lifestyle part of living in Italy. Let's speak about food. Eat in Italy is quite cheaper. Think that if you go in a trattoria for a lunch, like in a normal day of the week, you can easily eat for less than 20 euros, something around 18 and 24 US dollars. And grocery as well follow the same path. If you go to the supermarket, you can easily find Italian food, bread, vegetables, fruits, so you can enjoy really high quality stuff for cheap prices. Not to mention that in Italy, food is famously better and healthier. But now let's take a closer look about another area of costs: transportation. If you live in a city like Milan, you can easily live without a car. You can use the public transportation and it will cost you something between $40 and $60 per month to use every kind of public transportation. In London, you can easily pay $200 or $300 per month to use the public transportation. And in the biggest city of the United States, you are on average on $100 per month. So if you take Milan as an example of Italian city and you compare that with other cities in UK or US, actually transportation in Milan is cheaper. What is quite expensive in Italy is gasoline. We don't produce enough gasoline in Italy, so we buy gasoline from other countries. Plus we have excise taxes on the price of the gasoline. So this brings the price of the gasoline in the moment I recording this video to 1.9 more or less US dollars per liter, while in Canada and USA it's more or less half of this price. Apparently in UK gasoline it's even more expensive than in Italy. But now let's talk about something that I'm really proud of: the healthcare system in Italy. The national healthcare system in Italy is more or less free for every citizen. It's also free for residents that work and pay taxes in Italy. If you are a resident and you don't have an insurance and you don't work either, you can still access the national healthcare system. This means that if you end up in the hospital, nobody will ask you for your credit card or your healthcare insurance. They will treat you, but they will eventually send you an invoice later. To avoid this problem, if you're not working and paying taxes in Italy, you can decide to pay a 4,000 per year insurance that allow you to access the healthcare system at the same level of an Italian citizen that pay taxes in Italy. But if you compare this with what you will pay in US, there is a big difference, because in US the insurance sometimes are 500 or even 1,000 per month, while in Italy you will pay 4,000 per year. And if you're working in Italy and paying taxes in Italy, you will not even need to pay this 4,000. Another area which is especially important for families is education. Education in Italy is basically free until the university. Usually you pay public university something between 1,000 and 4,000 euros per year, depending on your income mainly. But in Italy you also can find university for expats, and they are more expensive, of course. In US, public university costs something around $10,000 per year, while private university are around 40,000 per year. And even if UK and Canada the costs are lower than United States, they are still pretty high compared to Italy. If you have paid attention, there is one last thing that we didn't discuss, and this is taxes. Let's start with taxes on real estate. They could be quite cheap compared to other countries, but you have to pay attention. The normal tax in Italy when you buy a property is 9%, and even if this percentage is calculated on the cadastral value, taxes in Italy when you buy a property could be higher compared to other countries. However, there is a trick to drastically reduce taxes when you buy a property in Italy, and I speak about this specifically in this video. Anyway, once you became an owner, you are also subject to the annual property tax, which we call IMU, and it typically ranges between 0.76% and 1.06%. And even like this, it's lower compared to other countries. But you can reduce the property tax even to zero. For example, in the case you own a property which has historical, artistic or cultural value, or if the property is your primary residency. If you plan to work in Italy, taxes are not necessarily lower compared to other countries. In fact, income tax rate can be really high. The share of the total labor costs that goes in taxes is 48% in Italy compared to 35% in UK, 32% in Canada and 30% in US. Even here you have some ways to reduce your taxes because there are many opportunities for expats. For example, researchers and professors can reduce their taxes to almost zero if they decide to work and live in Italy. There are good incentives also for digital nomads, and for high net worth individual you can choose to pay a flat tax and nothing more. At the end of the month in Italy you need a budget of below 3,000 euros to live decently, while in United States, United Kingdom or Canada, your monthly costs will be much higher. So yes, your dream to move to Italy can be financially realistic. So now if you want to fully understand the process to buy a property in Italy, I really suggest you to watch this video. See you soon, bye!